If you have a problem in your business, in your career, in a project, or any pursuit of success, I can get it solved for you in 5 minutes. I know what you're thinking. That's a bold statement. How do you think you can actually solve my problem? Something I'm already dealing with, something I'm having an issue with in 5 minutes. Well, I'm not going to completely solve it for you. I'm going to show you how it can be solved in less than 5 minutes. And I'm going to explain it right now on the Saturday Morning Hustle Podcast. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle Podcast. No hyperbolic hustle culture, just brutally honest, straightforward business advice and motivation every Saturday for entrepreneurs, business owners, or anyone pursuing success. You can't just work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and hope to become the next big thing. You got to work smart, work hard, put in extra effort while everyone else is sleeping, playing games, or wasting time. Maximize bonus time to get more work done. This podcast is for anyone willing to come in early, stay late, hustle on the weekends to be truly great. That's right. A 5-minute conversation could put you on the track of having any problem solved if you will take the advice I'm going to give you right now on the Saturday Morning Hustle. Let's do this together. I'm going to break down how a 5-minute conversation, this is something I do all the time. I do this with my clients. I do this with my collaborators. I do this with friends and people that I simply want to see be successful. Sometimes it's over coffee. Sometimes it's over a beer. Sometimes it's at lunch. Sometimes it's on the phone. Sometimes it's on Zoom. Often it's in person, and it's easier than you think if you understand how to address and begin the process of solving a problem as opposed to being focused solely on needing the problem solved. Of course you need the problem solved, but that's a daunting task. It's intimidating. It sometimes can be frustrating. It sometimes can seem like it can't be done. But if you understand how to approach any problem, how you can apply strategic thinking in order to address any issue and solve any problem. That is what we're going to do right now. We're going to start with you have to have an open mind, a willingness to listen, even to accept criticism of what got you to this point, what led to the problem, what presented the roadblock, the issue, etc. You have to be vulnerable. That's a word I often stumble on. I'm glad that I got that out. You have to let your defenses down and let someone else help you. You have to admit that you are stuck, that you need help, that you need some guidance, that you need some perspective, you need something you don't have. When you do that, when you say, Kyle, I'm going to sit down with you and take this 5-minute challenge, have you help me with this problem I have, that's the first step in the process. So be open-minded to the process. Be willing to listen to someone who has a different perspective, may not have as much experience or knowledge or command of the subject as you do, because this is something as part of your business, something you're part of pursuit. There's something that you're actively engaging in, but willingness to listen to other people, a willingness to take in what someone might offer you, that's where knowledge comes from, and that knowledge is going to allow you to solve the problem or get around the issue that is slowing you down. So have that open mind, be willing to listen, accept any criticism of what you got you there. If you're worried about being judged, you're not putting your focus on solving the problem. Don't worry about being judged. We all fail. We all make mistakes. We've all had problems. We've all been in this situation. Be open to accepting any criticism necessary so that you can learn the lessons and move forward in a better way, and admit you're stuck, that you need that help. Now that you've done that, you've sat down with me for 5 minutes, you tell me your problem. Now I'm going to offer you a fresh perspective. And again, I mentioned that I may not have as much experience or knowledge in the scenario, in the situation, in the business and industry on the topic that we're discussing, but I do have a fresh perspective. Often people get stuck on problems because they've seen it up close and personal. They've lived with it. It's frustrated them. It's held them back, and they know it's a problem, and they're focused on the fact it's a problem as opposed to focusing on the fact that it can be solved. They don't have the answer in front of them, and that's where the frustration comes from. When you talk to someone else, when you talk to me, when you ask a trusted advisor what they would do in this situation, how they would address the problem, how they would work through this, whatever they tell you is going to be a fresh perspective. In business terms, we often say you're too close to this. You're too close to see the forest for the trees. Now you're going to get a fresh perspective from someone else who's going to help you in the 5-minute process. That process begins by asking questions. Now, hopefully they're good questions. In my case, because I consult with business owners, with decision makers on a regular basis, I have a pretty good system for asking questions, but I am not afraid to ask dumb questions. I'm not afraid to state the obvious. I'm not afraid to make you explain how you got there and why you're making the assumptions you're making, good or bad, and how you feel stuck or how you feel you can move forward. I will ask you the questions. I'm not concerned that they're good questions or the smartest questions, or I come off as someone who obviously doesn't have as much background and information as you do. I know that going into the conversation. I also know sometimes the best perspective, the best ideas, the best way around a roadblock comes from what seems like a very obvious, very, for lack of a better term, dumb question. Going back to the basics, the simplest version of something is typically the best. Asking questions, sometimes a question that seems obvious or silly or dumb, can be back to the basics in the simplest version. If you can't answer that simple version of that question, if you can't coach me up in this process, then you don't have command of the subject. You have not done your research. You have not done your work, and you need to know better before engaging me. So I'm going to start by asking you questions. As you answer those questions, that should spur additional questions. In that process, you should have a change in attitude. You should understand that we've interrupted the pattern of you being stuck, that we have changed the conversation. We've changed your perspective by bringing you a different outlook, different ideas, by asking you questions, by moving you in a different direction. We have changed the scenario, which then allows you to change your attitude about the scenario from going from being defeatist, being held back, being frustrated, being negative, now to the positive opportunity, the potential to get around the situation, potential to have the answer, to solve the problem, to move yourself forward, will now allow you to be positive in your approach. You're open-minded, we said earlier, so now you can take the new information you have, the new perspective, the new attitude, and move forward. We've interrupted your pattern that has gotten you to this point, that has slowed you down, that has stopped you, that has created the problem that was necessary that we sit down and talk about anyways. Now you have a new path forward. You understand a different way of moving forward. Even if it isn't the right way, even if the problem hasn't actually been solved, you have a new path, you have a new process, you have new opportunities, new potential, along with that positive attitude and fresh perspective. All of this is different. It's all things you didn't have before our 5-minute conversations. It's all the things, all the tools, all of the data, all of the ideas, all of the potential, all of the possibilities that you didn't have previously, which was part of why you couldn't get around the problem. You're being held back, you're being slowed down. So now you have a new way to achieve what it is you're trying to achieve. Something else you can do, because we've just spent 5 minutes talking about this problem, is that you can do the same 5-minute process with more than one person. with many people, with lots of people, with lots of different perspectives, lots of different ideas, lots of different questions that they'll ask you. The potential to solve your problem can be addressed 5 minutes at a time with trusted advisors, people who are willing to ask you questions, people who are willing to have conversations with you, people who are willing to provide their perspective. So you can do this once. If the problem is solved, move forward. But if the problem isn't solved, continue to do it until you find new information, new perspectives, new ideas, answers to new questions, or a combination across multiple 5-minute sessions with trusted advisors. Now repeat this as needed. You've solved your problem. You move forward. You will eventually have another problem. You will eventually have something that slows you down or stops you. You'll eventually have another roadblock, unexpected outcome, etc. It happens to everyone. It's part of the process. This is how things go. Now you know, though, to repeat this process. If you've exhausted all of your potential, if you've exhausted every option you have, if you have worked through things that you know to do and they're not working, go back to your 5-minute conversations with your trusted advisors. Let them ask questions. Let them work you through the process. Let them interrupt your pattern. Let them provide you a new path forward. Let them provide you potential and opportunity and a change in your attitude once again to move forward in a different, new, better way. So now you have a process for answering questions. You have a process for solving problems. You have a process for doing things better. And you understand any problem, any question, any issue, any roadblock, any negative in your pursuit of success can be overcome by something as simple as a 5-minute conversation. Also understand you're not in this alone. We all have issues. We all have problems. We all have negative outcomes. We all have unexpected things that slow us down, stop us, that we don't know what to do. We don't have the answer for. And so we all are reaching out to each other for 5 or 10 minutes, for fresh perspective, for input, for opportunities, for ideas, for potential, and for a positive outlook forward. Do all of these things, and the potential to be successful goes way up, and your problems go away. So again, in 5 minutes, I can help you get to where you need to be to figure out what the answer to your question is, how to solve your problem, how to move forward in a better way, and ultimately, how to be more successful. Good luck. Thanks for listening. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave a comment, leave a review, share with a friend. Would really appreciate that. Follow and engage on social media, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and this Saturday Morning Hustle Facebook fan page. All the info, all the past episodes, all the Saturday Morning Hustle, Entrepreneur AF, and Coffee and Donuts swag is at SaturdayMorningHustle.com. See you next week.